Now, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Rodriguez. I'm running for New York State Comptroller. Now, for those of you who don't know exactly what the Comptroller does, through the oversight of any activity where state spending is utilized, and through his stewardship of the state's pension fund, the Comptroller can exert influence over nearly $500 billion of the state's money. And yet most people have no idea who the Comptroller is, much less what the Comptroller does. So part of that function is fighting corruption, is making sure that we are keeping our promises to our retirees. So in other words, you have a lot of power to do a lot of good for New Yorkers, but instead, it's become increasingly apparent that the extent of the Democrats' campaign here in New York, and in fact, I would say nationwide, is two things. Republicans, and by extension, of course, Lee Zeldin here specifically, we hate women and we hate democracy. Now think about that second one. We hate democracy. Such wonderful rich irony considering what we're discussing here today with Tish James. The only election denial that is going on is not really what happened 2 years ago here in this country. It's what they're doing yet right now. That's the true election denialism. That's the true bullying. That's the true meddling in democracy. So think about it. The party that likes to fashion itself, listen, we're the Democratic Party, so we believe in democracy. Except when we don't agree with the results. That's the true election denialism. But let me tell you right here what we're facing as New Yorkers, and I put this to people very simply. The American dream is currently in jeopardy here. Now, what do I mean by the American dream? It's nothing more complicated than having the ability and freedom to be able to improve your condition and end life in a better place than where you started from. And as a parent, a father of 3 daughters, to me, my American dream is making sure that their life is better than what I had it. And I'm sure when they have their children, they'll want to make their life better for their children than what they had it. But unfortunately, for more and more New Yorkers, that dream is becoming elusive. They're finding it much harder, if not impossible, to be able to achieve their American dream here in New York. And we all know the reasons. We have the highest taxes in the nation. We have a crippling cost of living that only gets worse. We have an environment for investment and business that's very hostile, whether it's large business or small business. We have rampant corruption. And yes, of course, we have the deterioration of public safety, of rising crime because of cashless bail, because of idiotic policies such as defund the police, and because of the end of broken windows policing, where it's basically become open season on anybody walking down the streets. For this reason, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers have already left this state. Now, for those of us who have stayed behind, Kathy Hochul, our governor, says, well, if you disagree with me, you can leave.
It's a complete clown.
But those who stay behind, those of us who love and are trying to make this the place to raise our families, she says, those who stay behind, I'm going to squeeze the life out of you. Because the more money that I spend, the more money that I waste, the more money that I give away to donors, allegedly, the more we're going to have to tax you to keep the government running. So we are facing an inflection point. What happens between now and don't think of just November 8th. You know, in martial arts, they tell you to punch through your target. You're going to have to think beyond November 8th. Because you know there's going to be shenanigans. Already in the press, they're starting to say, it is ridiculous and absurd that anyone should assume that we'll have election results on Tuesday evening. This will probably take very, many days, perhaps weeks. They're already trying to condition you to think that, hey, don't expect to actually know what's happening November 8th. I think we will know who's going to be the new governor, attorney general, comptroller, senator, and down the line, most of them November 8th. But keep in mind that you have to work from now and beyond it. And remind everyone you know, every neighbor, every friend, every colleague, remind them who were the ones who were forcing you who were forcing your kids to be masked, that were forcing you to be masked, who would actually give you a ticket on the street, believe it or not, cops giving people on the streets for not wearing masks, who would fire you for not getting vaccinated, who are basically turning a blind eye when you're in the store and someone's shoplifting, or someone mugs you, or someone jumps a turnstile. Who are the people who are responsible for that? Who is the party that's bringing you their great democracy to you? Who are the ones who, if you don't agree with them, they will shut you down and they will censor you? Because now it seems that in order to save democracy, we must undermine it by basically suppressing everyone's freedom of speech and freedom of thought. We have to make a very tangible and salient change, because otherwise more and more New Yorkers are going to give up and are going to be leaving the state. And for those of us who love it here and who want to raise our families here, we need a true change. So please join us to help serve our state. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly put your hands again for Mr. Paul Rodriguez, who will be running as state controller. Remember, we need change. Not change, we need changes in all formats. And the only way we can do that is going straight from top to bottom with a big R, Republican. We're gonna make New York and USA red again.